Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie and Alec Crowdhamel, here together to discuss the 10th commitment of the class of 2026 for Rutgers Football. This time, another four-star, the fourth four-star of the class, Jared Smith, the interior offensive lineman, who we have listed at 6'5", 320 pounds from Woodland High School in Stockbridge, Georgia. Talk about what went into his commitment, what he brings as a player, and where things stand for the rest of the class. But first, this podcast is presented to you by MyBookie. It's crunch time on the court, and the NBA playoffs are your chance to score big. Whether you're riding with the favorites or cheering for the underdog, every three-pointer, dunk, and buzzer beater, like last night, sorry Knicks fans, is an opportunity to win at MyBookie. Place your bets live as the action unfolds, and if you're feeling confident, you can lock in your winnings early, which would have been nice for Knicks fans last night when they were up 15 in the fourth quarter. With a quick cash out option. Never miss a chance to turn your basketball insights into real cash. And if you're new to MyBookie, if you sign up with the promo code MM50, you can get an instant boost to your first deposit. So if you deposit $50, MyBookie will toss in an extra $25. More action, more excitement, and more chances to win during basketball's most intense playoff season. When the games wrap up, you can also keep your winning streak alive at MyBookie's casino with slots, blackjack, roulette, and more. The thrills never stop. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. All right, let's talk about Jared Smith. Jared Smith is from Georgia. Rutgers has built a fairly steady pipeline from the Peach State. Richie, how did Rutgers get involved with this kid, and what are they getting in Jared Smith?
They've been recruiting him for quite some time. I got to see and look back if I can find out when they offered him. But they've been very involved in Georgia, like you just mentioned. I know Demir Shaw has been the point guy, technically speaking, from because most of the time now it's good for assistant coaches. It's going to be your position coach. That's your main recruiter there. But in this case, like Demir Shaw just has been the guy here. Rutgers offered back in August after he came to campus for an unofficial visit for the first game of the season. Came to campus, really loved everything about it. He's raved about Rutgers ever since. He's been to campus multiple times since then. Was on campus for a junior day back in February. Was on campus for a spring practice visit back in April. Got to talk with Pat Flaherty. He's very high, and this is almost like you can just kind of like copy paste this from every offensive line recruit. They love Pat Flaherty and the fact that he has 40 years of coaching experience. He's a two-time Super Bowl champ. He's a multi-year veteran. He's just going to keep pointing towards every other guy. He produced Holland or helped develop Holland Pearson to what he is today. So it's just he has all the experience in the world, and it's really just sold so many offensive line recruits. And that's why I said it before the pod, but this is why I think this might be one of the better offensive line classes in program history. And it's tough to say because last cycle they just had Josh Blackston, who was an Under Armour All-American. They had a 4-star and obviously didn't work out too well. And Jalen Matthews, Chris Vigno, we saw in the spring game, looks pretty good. And there's some other guys too. But I think this class has a chance to be a multi-4-star offensive line class when it's all said and done. And he's just a really talented kid. They got in pretty early on him, and they stayed with him the whole way, and just ends up paying off.
Yeah, they already have 2 3-star commits in the class at offensive line. Donovan Johnson, who's a 5.7 3-star. Cameron Green, who's the latest commit. He's a 5.5 3-star. But if you look at who's going to be visiting in the near future, you got Jared Smith, who's obviously now a commit. You have Terry Jamison, who's a 4-star guard. You have Tyler Duell, who's a 4-star tackle. Kai Pritchard is a 4-star tackle. Tyrell Simpson is a guy you're super high on. You think he can get a bump to 4-star status. So yeah, this could very well be a class that has 3, maybe 4 4-stars along the offensive line if things go how we anticipate. Alec, have you kind of watched any tape on this kid or have any insight on the Jared Smith commitment?
Yeah, he's got good size. It's listed at 6'5", 320. He actually plays tackle for his high school team, but it looks like he's going to be recruited as a guard. He's put as an interior offensive lineman on his profile, but he does play tackle. He shows some nice things. I like how he will completely obliterate his assignment off the play, and he will not stop until they're either on the ground or completely out of the play or the whistle blows, whichever one comes first. I really like that. Just look like he's a pretty solid pass protector, pretty solid run blocker as well. I know there were some concerns about maybe his arms aren't completely where you want to be. But at the same time, for a guard, it's not as big of a concern, and he still has that really good size. And just watching his tape, it definitely pops out his size as well. So yeah, it's a pretty solid addition.
And Rich, it looks like his final four was Rutgers, Auburn, Georgia, and Georgia Tech. So it's not like we were competing against, Middle Tennessee State or, Little Sisters of the Poor. These are four Power Four teams that we beat out with Southern connection. So how did Rutgers end up beating out that competition?
Yeah, so like Georgia Tech kind of shied away a little bit. Let's just start with this. There are two Georgia schools. There is, in this cycle alone, 37 kids in Georgia with Power 5 offers that are playing offensive line.
Wow.
In this class alone. So the Georgia cycle is just like, for offensive linemen, this cycle is just, it's insane. It's deep. Auburn already has one committed. Georgia has one committed. I don't know if Georgia Tech has one yet, but either way, there's just a ton of different offensive line in Georgia. So it's not like they're going to go all in for this kid. Now, I know Georgia was pretty high on him. They liked him a lot, but he was a little bit lower on the board. I know Georgia Tech has some money to play with too. They're actually trying to flip the one kid that I believe committed to Alabama. I forget what his name was. I think it's Chris Booker, if I recall. Either way, Georgia Tech's trying to flip someone else. It's just it seems like everyone has their preference, and they're not going to go balls to the wall if they're going to lose out on the kid. So it sounds like Georgia had him on their board. He was pretty high up on their board, but he was in that second tier for Georgia. I'll take a second tier Georgia kid any day of the week, to be honest. Yeah. Like, how could you not? Auburn was just kind of a little late, not late to the party, but they just aren't showing as much interest. So that one's a little bit tough. But the fact that it's a Georgia kid, Georgia Tech was after him, Georgia was after him. As long as you see those the big in-state schools are after a kid, it's kind of like, okay, he's got to be pretty decent. Just like when you look at New Jersey kids and you don't see Rutgers like not at the top, but not involved at all. Like not all, like when Rutgers doesn't offer like a top 10 Jersey kid, everyone's like, okay, what's going on here? What's wrong? It's not by coincidence they don't end up panning out at the college level, because True. Rutgers has the inside info that no one else has, because they're local, they're Jersey, they know everyone in the region. So I think it is just a really good get for Rutgers. I think, like Alex said, there's some concerns because he does have smaller arms, but that's why he's going to play along the interior. Some of his other accolades: 5'4", 40-yard dash, 265 bench. Let's see, 465 squat, 475 deadlift. Like he's got some pretty good weightlifting numbers. But obviously he's going to have to add some, or I guess change some of that weight into muscle, because you're probably not going to add a ton of weight to him because he's already 325 or 320-ish. But yeah, you turn some of that into muscle, see what they could do with what Jay Butler can do with him, and kind of go from there. But 4-star caliber guy, was at the Under Armour camp back in February in Atlanta. Won OL MVP, was really good there, dominant even, some were saying. I shouldn't say some were saying, because it was literally our new partner at On3 was saying it. They said, here, I'm going to read the quote off from the National Rankings Director, Charles Power. Jared Smith, the most competitive offensive lineman at Under Armour Atlanta, put up a significant fight during one-on-ones, was the lone lineman to slow down some of the top edge rushers in attendance. Broad-shouldered, barrel-chested build, easily held up against contact. He was able to easily anchor on contact and gave up little ground once engaged. He showed solid functional movement skills, some feisty competitiveness, split reps with Jabarius Garr. I don't know who that is, to be honest, and held up really well at tackle despite being an interior offensive lineman long-term. Pretty solid accolade. And he's, this is, again, 4-star offensive lineman. You can't be picky and choosy. When you can get them, you get them.
And then that's even more impressive when you already mentioned just the sheer depth and how many guys there are at the, getting Power 5 looks at the offensive line spot, that he stood out as the best only back in February as well. Definitely a really solid accolade as well.
Yeah, and from the way you described his recruitment, Rich, it reminded me a lot of the Braxton Kyle kind of saga last year, where he is a very good player, but when you're University of Georgia, you can be very selective, especially in state, with who you actually go after hard. So would you say that those are kind of similar? Like he's a solid 1B for Georgia, and maybe if like 2 or 3 things go wrong, they might kind of circle back to try and get him?
Yeah, I would say I definitely keep an eye on it down the line, just because it's still the hometown school. It's still the recent history, 2-time national champs in recent history. You really can't count out someone like that of that caliber, especially because it's when you're born in SEC territory, you kind of want to stay in the SEC if you can. But I don't know if this one's going to be a Chase Linton situation or a Braxton Kyle situation. Now, I think right now, if you have them committed, so maybe it ends up being a Braxton Kyle situation. I think right now Georgia's going to land their top guys. They did lose out on one recently in Jackson Cantwell. Obviously, they're not paying $2 million for a guy. But then again, it sounds like Rutgers also paid a pretty nice penny for this kid. So, I mean, you can't really complain. Rutgers has some NIL money, and it's no secret anymore because the court documents show it, thanks to Jet Elad. So they have some money to work with. After talking to some people down that cover Georgia and Georgia Tech, they said the same thing. They're like, wow, Rutgers actually spent quite a few on them. And it's like, okay, yeah, look at that. Look what happens when you have NIL for a change.
Yeah, no, money is a good cure-all for a lot of ills, and it seems like Rutgers is certainly showing that to be the case. What else about this kid? Anything that we haven't covered either of you guys wanted to touch on about Jared Smith?
Not that I could think of. I mean, offensive line recruiting in general is going to be really good. Alex, do you have something?
Not really.
Oh, you looked like you had something. So this is their second interior guy. I know you said before Kai Pritchard tackle. Yes, technically tackle. I think he lines up better on the interior at the next level. That one's a give or take. Get him to campus, figure it out. But it's going to be interesting because they just went for a bunch of offensive linemen last cycle, and they're going to do it again. It sounds like this cycle. It's like just keep plugging guys in until you can find the right pieces, I guess. I think that this has a chance to be a very, very good offensive lineman haul when it's all said and done between Jared Smith, Donovan Johnson's borderline 4-star, Tyrell Simpson already has a future cast borderline 4-star, Kai Pritchard is a 4-star, has a future cast. Get Tyler Doole maybe because he sounds like he's leaning Kentucky. Get him to change his mind. Get Tyreek Jemison, another Georgia kid, to change. I guess he's kind of leaning Georgia Tech a little bit. Get him to kind of sway a little bit and change his mind. And have fucking 4 or 5 offensive linemen that are ranked 4 stars or better. It's like, who the hell is this program?
Yeah, especially considering the way that the offensive line historically struggled for the last probably decade plus.
Yeah.
And I think a big reason for a lot of the wins here, it's something that Pat Flaherty told us when we talked to him in spring, and something that Greg Schiano echoed also in the spring, where if someone's willing to put in the work, there is no limit to the efforts that Flaherty will go to make sure you get to where you want to be as an offensive lineman. So I think everyone sees that. All the ones that are coming to Rutgers are seeing that, and it's an instant. It's an instant interest, really, especially when you have not only the accolades of Pat Flaherty, but also like I said, the willingness to work with you if you really want to put in the effort and all that experience and all that. So I think, it is shaping up to be a really solid offensive line class, and could be a really solid strength of the team for the future.
I forgot about Logan Anthony too, who just got the offer recently. Already scheduled an official visit. Had Pat Flaherty and Charlie Noonan at his house last night. Couldn't stop raving to me about the smash burgers that his mom made. So apparently Pat Flaherty thought they were amazing. So I'm just saying. But it sounds like he might have a future cast coming his way as well. And he's got some really good tape. He's super athletic too. So it might be another podcast coming sooner rather than later. You never know.
I mean, especially with the official visit weekend starting next weekend, we could see a lot.
Oh yeah, and we'll definitely have episodes next week previewing the big official visit weekend, because I think last time I checked, there's over 20 kids scheduled to visit on the weekend of the 30th. So
break that down.
Talk about who might be on commit watch, who are some of the top targets. 6 4-stars currently scheduled to visit on the weekend of the 30th. So star-studded affair for sure.
I think that was the weekend last year, right? The first weekend was the one that they landed everyone, or was it the second weekend? I forget. There was one big weekend where they landed like 90% of the kids.
I think the first one they landed like 90% of who they had on campus, and then it was like 2 more the next day, or like the next weekend. I think
you might be right.
But yeah, they swept up in that first weekend. First 2 weekends, really.
I'll tell you in a second, because normally we have a nice like steady drip of commitment weekend or commitment podcasts, but
this one might be.
Yeah, it was the weekend of the the 3rd, I think, because I think we had like 10 commitments that weekend, because we just called it the commitment bonanza. Parts 1 and 2.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. No, the May 31st weekend did pretty well too, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 from that May 31st weekend. So that was probably right after that May 31st weekend, then, right? June 30th.
Probably. But yeah, they went absolutely crazy during the during official visits. Yeah. I'm looking
like
through
three on one day, I think it was at one point. Or it was three on 2 days back to back. I forget what it was. It's something nutty.
Yeah, I'm looking through the episodes right now. 4 of the it was funny. I think they got another one in the middle of when these episodes went up, because breaking down 4 of the 9 commitments from the weekend. This was on June 3rd. And then part 2 was breaking down the rest of the 10 commitments. So they got another one in between the 2 episodes going up. Yeah. So it was
13
crazy.
commitments in a span of 7 days between June 3rd and June 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 on June 1st. 1, 2, 3, 4 on June 2nd. Another June 3rd. It was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, that was crazy.
So,
I can't remember anything like that.
If you guys want the inside scoop on all of that and who's going to possibly commit before the podcast and everything like that, hit us up. Promo code is only live for 9 more days till the end of May. It is 60% off the year. Sign up now, because you're going to get new scoops starting July 1st, baby. Well, we're going to have more national analysts, I should say, helping us out on July 1st. And you're going to get a lot more content, a lot more hoops content. I know the new profiles were teased yesterday, I think it was, of what they're going to look like. Let's see if I can pop this up. Nope, that is not working. You guys have already seen this.
Yeah. I really like it. I really like the way it looks.
It's pretty nice. Side note, mobile version, just so for everyone context. But it's basically, it's kind of the On3 profile, but you get to get the industry ranking, get everyone's ranking, which is nice. So you can see how they compare. A couple videos, this, that, and the third. And even NIL valuation. I think that's the coolest thing.
Yeah, there's some really cool features that are coming with it too.
Yeah. So
like past just like recruiting stuff, there's a lot of really cool stuff. So by the way, I counted between June 1st and June 17th, Rutgers got 14 commitments.
That's wild. Damn.
And then 6 days later, DJ McClary flipped from Penn State to Rutgers as well.
Forgot about that one. Forgot he was committed to Penn State. I covered Penn State.
I remember that happened while I was in that happened while I was away in France, and I was like frantically calling you like, "Hello, I'm in Paris. What do I do?"
Forgot about that. Yeah, that was quite the weekend.
Yeah, from Myron Gurman to Kanan Edwards. That was the crazy 2.5 week stretch.
Hell, I forgot about Myron Gurman too. To be honest, no offense to him, he hasn't been on campus yet. Forgot about him, and he got injured his senior year, so I really forgot about him.
I mean, there is 27 commits in the 2025 class, so you're not going to remember all of them.
It's a lot. It's a little too much sometimes. But anyway.
All right. Well, we want to thank everybody for listening once again. We might have fewer pods in between commitments, just given the time of the year, but I think things will start to pick up very soon with these big with these big recruiting weekends. Jesus, and also training camp is quietly right around the corner. I think it starts end of July-ish. So,
and I think we're at less than a month until basketball practice starting.
Yeah. Less than a month for that. Football camps are right around the corner as well. I think the first one is, technically Under Armour camps this weekend, so we'll have a bunch of scoop from that on the boards. But the first
Richie and I will be there bright and early.
Yes. You sound like you don't want to go, Alec.
No, I want to, but I'm less of a morning guy than I used to be.
June 4th, Wednesday, will be their first football camp on campus, then a bunch of others. There's the Big Man Academy separate this year, so it's nice. You get to actually attend both instead of running back and forth. I shouldn't say you get to attend. Instead of me running back and forth. I get to go to one, wait a couple days, go to the other. And then the 7-on-7 camp, June 21st, which is the big, huge one that every school, every program puts together. And it's always pretty fun.
Yeah,
So
action-packed schedule coming up. But thanks to everybody who has listened, signed up for the website, subscribed, told a friend, all of the above. Really appreciate each and every one of you. But for me and Richie, this has been another, and Alec, this has been another edition of the Net Report podcast. Signing off.